Hey friends! Yesterday I got this comment on one of my videos, and I've gotten this comment before. Excuse me, a little squeak in the voice. So the comment was, I love your videos, topics, and opinions, but I hate your tone and your choice of words. You sound white, not because you're proper, but because you say shit like it's totally awesome and so freaking, but keep doing you. I just had to throw that out there. It did get me thinking about this concept of you talk white, which is something that I have heard my entire life, and not so much in adulthood outside of YouTube. But I went on Snapchat, since I love Snapchat, and asked you all to send me snaps and tell me if you've had this experience as well, where someone tells you that you talk white. And Snapchat doesn't let me keep snaps past 24 hours, and I didn't really think ahead of how I wanted to put this into a video, but I made notes because, you know, sometimes paper and pen is a thing. A lot of people express the same sentiments, that if they had $1 for every time they had been told they sound white, they would have lots of money, and I have felt the same way about my experience. And what was really sad is there were some people who said that they have heard this as young as 6 years old. It's not just an American thing, it's international. I got snaps from people in Australia and in the UK who've heard that they talk white, and I also did get some snaps from some Latino viewers who said that they've been told they don't sound Latino or they don't sound Hispanic. I do feel like this is a multi-layered issue in the sense that there is a very complicated history behind how Black people and Black Americans specifically speak. And I think that what a lot of times happens is there's this divide within our community. What's upsetting about it is that we as Black people are the ones that continue to perpetuate this myth of talking white. In my experience, I have never had a white person say that to me. Usually they say something along the lines of, you speak so well, or, oh, you just sound so educated, or you use such beautiful diction. It's usually framed as a compliment, which does not make it any less offensive, because the implication usually is that the way that I speak is surprising because they're assuming that as a Black person I'm going to talk a certain way, and the fact that I don't speak that way is a pleasant surprise of some sort. To go back to people, Black people, including my own family, at times telling me that I talk white or sound like a white person, you know, here's the thing, is when this happens, and I heard this in some of the snaps that I got, the kids who are told you talk white, because they're being told this by other Black kids, and because they are living in a world that judges them based on the color of their skin and treats them differently or less than, sometimes what happens is those kids, myself included at one time, internalize that and think, well, if you think that I sound white or that you are assuming I'm better than someone else, then they kind of go with it, and you get these kids and adults who say, well, I don't talk like those Black people. I'm better than them. You won't experience racism if you just talk like me. And as much as I don't agree with people acting that way, like I said, I'm willing to acknowledge there was a time in my life where I felt that way. And it was definitely a defense mechanism, because I had had so many people that I liked, people that I respected, people that I loved, tell me that I spoke like a white person as an insult. Sometimes what ends up happening, and again I heard this in some of the snaps that I got, well, at least I don't talk like I'm ratchet or I'm uneducated, and that's not okay, because people speak in a variety of ways, and not speaking standard English, or what some people sometimes call proper English, which I don't really like personally, does not mean that you are unintelligent. There are a lot of people who can speak with a commanding cadence and use big words and are still not smart, educated people. Donald Trump. In the case of black people not speaking standard English. There's a long history there. You know, the transatlantic slave trade did not come with an English immersion program. You know, like the slaves were not being taught how to speak English. They were not being taught how to read, how to write. And so what happens when you don't speak a language and you are thrust into a country where no one speaks the same language as you, and you are surrounded by black people from all different tribes and countries and nations and families, and suddenly you all have to speak to each other. A new language arises that ends up becoming a mixture of English and their native tongues. And when you actually study AAVE, African American Vernacular English, there are a lot of patterns in the syntax that are very similar to a variety of African languages. And so it's kind of amazing in the sense that there are these trends in AAVE or these slang words that have become so colorful and creative within the black community that now everyone wants to steal them and use them, but at the same time then begrudge black people for speaking in a way or speaking a language that they were kind of forced to adapt and create themselves. That sets a standard for the way that you speak, and then the way that your children speak, and so on and so on. And I just wish that we could get to a place where we could understand that the beauty of the black community is that we are so different in our skin tones, in our hair, in our bodies, in our clothes, in our music. There are all these multi-layered things that make us so different, including the way that we speak. And if there's anything that I can impart to you, dear viewers, no matter how you speak, you are worthy of respect. And I think that sometimes you have to demand it. No, actually, I don't speak like a white person. I speak like Franchesca. Nice to meet you. If you'd actually like to get to know me, then you can maybe check your assumptions at the door, because I don't play that respectability politics bullshit. Thank you. Guess what? I'm still black. Like, my blackness does not magically go away because of the way that I talk. And yes, I'm gonna try and keep doing these one-take videos because they're really easy, but on the downside, like I said, I'm sure I'm gonna forget something. So please tell me in the comments if you've ever had an experience, no matter what background you are from, where someone made an unfair assumption or judgment about you based on the way that you speak or the way that you do not speak. Tell me about it in the comments below, and I will see you when I see you. Make sure to subscribe if that sounds terrible. Bye.